A lot of people are walking into this journey with completely unrealistic expectations. And it's honestly setting you up to feel like you are failing when you're actually doing just fine. But you get discouraged and you start second guessing everything. And eventually people quit their GLP-1 journey altogether. I am here to fix that. Because there's actually a way for you to figure out exactly how much weight you should actually be losing on a GLP-1 medication. And this isn't a guess, it's not a maybe. It's based on clinical trials and the real data from the people who have taken GLP-1 medications. And I call it the 20% rule. And yes, I did make that up, but hear me out. This is exactly what I wish someone had told me when I first started GLP-1 medications. And by the end of this video, you are going to walk away with an actual tangible number, a goal that's realistic of what this next year can look like for you if you stay in it. And this isn't to discourage you, it's to empower you. Because when your expectations are realistic, you stop quitting. You stop spiraling every time the scale slows down or stops, and you start actually making progress that's going to stick. Oh, and if we haven't met yet, I am Nikki. I have lost over 75 pounds using GLP-1 medications and over 95 pounds from my highest weight. And I talk about the real side of this journey, not the Pinterest version, not the super amazing and unrealistic version. I stick to the facts. I stick to the things that are actually happening. This is the I'm not sure what I'm doing version, but we're going to figure it out together type of channel. So if you're into the type of content that's honest, helpful, and actually makes you feel seen, make sure you hit that subscribe button and stick around. I would love to have you a part of this community. But okay, let's actually look at the research. Because I didn't just pull this number out of thin air. I didn't just make it up. Actually, my undergrad is in sociology, so statistics are one of my favorite things in the entire world. And I went to the studies for this. The 20% rule is based off of real clinical trial data from the major GLP-1 studies. This is the same data that your doctor is looking at when he or she prescribes you your medications. So let's start with one of the biggest trials, the SURMOUNT-1 trial. This was a 72-week study on tirzepatide, which is also known as Mounjaro and Zepbound. And 72 weeks is a year and a half, so let's keep that in mind. But here's what the numbers actually looked like. People on a 5 milligram dose of tirzepatide lost an average of 15% of their body weight over those 72 weeks. People on a 10 milligram dose lost 19.5% of their starting weight. And those that got all the way up to a 15 milligram dose, they lost 20.9% of their starting weight. 20% is possible, but that was on the highest dose. Over the course of more than a year, with structure and support the entire way through. And most people don't hit 15 milligrams very quickly. Some never do. So when I created the 20% rule, this is the dream scenario. But for most of us, we're looking at between 15% and 20% total loss over a full year on GLP-1 medications, if we're consistent. This is from people who were consistent for over a year and a half. They got support. They had structured follow-ups. So they were doing more than just taking a shot. And they didn't lose all of that in 3 months. They didn't drop 50 pounds by summer. They played the long game. Now looking at the STEP trial, which was a study on semaglutide. This study was 68 weeks, so again, more than a year. People lost around 14.9% of their starting weight. And again, that's with nutrition support, movement plans, check-ins, structure, and a lot of accountability, not just the med. So when we talk about the 20% rule, I need you to know that that is the dream scenario. That's actually on the high end of what these medications can do. That's like the gold star number. And not all of us are going to hit it, but it's not a competition. So I use the 20% rule as long as we all know that that is not a guarantee, but it is a good, solid, realistic goal to start with. And if you end up with 15% instead, that's still massive. That's still worth celebrating. That's still life-changing. We need to stop treating slow and steady weight loss like it's a failure. Because in every one of the trials, the people who stuck with it, even when it was boring, even when it was slow, they're the ones who actually got results. So now that we've locked in what the real data says, and I've backed up this number with actual data, let's do some math. Let's figure out how this translates to you. Because this is where we stop making guesses and we start actually looking at the numbers. Because math doesn't lie. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to take your current weight, not your starting weight, the weight that you are at today, and I want you to multiply that by 20%. In case you don't know, you're going to move that decimal over twice, and you are going to multiply that by decimal to 0. And that's going to be your number. That's your 20%. That's how much weight you are expected to lose over the next year. So take that number and divide it by 12. And that's going to be your average weight loss per month. And if you want to go even more, even further, you can divide that by 4, and that'll be the number that you should be losing weekly. But we all know that the scale is going to go up and down. It is not going to be consistent. So for me, I prefer to zoom out and start with that monthly average. But if that's not doing it for you, then even zoom out further and start with that 12-month average, even a 6-month average, and average that out with how much weight you are going to be losing. Because a lot of the times when we zoom out and we look at the real statistics, the real numbers, we realize that we are right on track. We are doing exactly what we should be doing. The weight is coming off, and we're spiraling and freaking out for no reason. So let's do some math. If I take 258 pounds and I multiply that by 0.20, that is 51 pounds over a year. I'm going to divide that by 12, and I should have averaged, during my first year of this journey, I should have averaged about 4.3 pounds per month, which is 1 pound per week, which is exactly what I averaged. That was my exact reality, and that's where I came up with this 20% rule. Here's another example. Let's say you weigh 212 pounds today. You're going to take that number and you are going to multiply that by decimal to 0, and you're going to get 42.4 pounds. So 42.4 pounds is your magic number. That's your 20% rule. Over the next 12 months, you should lose an average of 42.4 pounds. So we're going to take that number and we're going to divide it by 12. When you divide that number by 12, you get 3.5 number. So 3.5 pounds per month is your average. If you go even more than that and you divide that by 4, now we're looking at 0.8 pounds per week. So if you are losing an average of 1 pound per week, you are right on track. And I think this is what gets people, is when you don't lose every single week. That's okay, because if you lose 2 pounds one week and nothing the next week, you are still on track to lose that 3 pounds per month. That's what progress actually looks like. And is it going to be perfectly even? Absolutely not. You might lose 10 pounds one month and 2 pounds the next month. But when you zoom out, the average is still correct. Now let's talk about a lower starting weight, because this is where people really spiral, especially when they don't lose a ton at the beginning. I get a lot of messages, a lot of DMs of people that are starting at a lower weight and not losing weight right away, and they start spiraling big time. Let's take my current weight as an example, I am currently at 179.9 pounds. Today was my weigh-in. So I'm going to take 179.9 and I'm going to multiply that by 0.20. And I'm going to get 35.98. So let's say 36 pounds. My expected weight loss over the next 12 months is 36 pounds. So let's take that 36 and divide it by 12. Now we're looking at 3 pounds per month. So over the next 12 months, I should be averaging about 3 pounds a month. That's less than a pound a week. But some people, when they first start, especially at a lower weight, they don't start losing weight right away. And then they end up hitting this spot where they're losing 2 pounds a week, 3 pounds a week. And when you're starting at a lower weight, we really need to be looking at maybe 15% to 20%, not that 20% golden rule, because it is going to be a lot harder to lose weight when you are starting from a lower weight. Which would mean that over the next year, I should be looking at anywhere between 26 and 36 pounds over the next year, which would get me to my goal weight, by the way. So I'm excited about that. So if you're one of these people who are starting at a low weight, or you're at a lower weight because you've already lost a lot of weight, like me, if we're 3 months in and we've only lost 6 pounds, that's normal. That's okay. You are exactly where you should be. The meds are working. Your body is adjusting. This is how it actually looks. Because when you start at a smaller weight, you're not going to see the same whooshes that someone who's starting at a higher weight is seeing. It's just not possible. And that's okay. It is your journey. It's just quieter, slower, and steadier. But it is working. This is why I love the 20% rule. Because when your expectations are based in reality, you're not going to be thrown off every time the scale dips or stalls or speeds up. You expect the ups and downs. You understand that one slow week isn't failure. It's just part of the bigger picture. This rule gives you something to come back to when you're doubting yourself, when you're comparing your journey to someone else's, when all the TikToks make you think that you should have lost 40 pounds by now. I want you to come back to this. Come back to the 20% rule. Come back to your actual number, because this isn't hype. It's based on actual data. It's science. And now it's your number. You know what to aim for. And maybe for the first time, you're not chasing some random goal that you came up with. You've got a plan that actually makes sense. And I know it might feel a little underwhelming at first. Wait, I'm only supposed to lose 3 pounds per month? Yes, that's it. And that's what sustainable weight loss actually looks like. It's slower than you thought. It's not flashy, but it sticks. And that's the point. You may not impress the internet. You're not going to win some fake race that nobody is playing. But what you are going to do is completely change your life. You're going to feel better in your body. You're going to have energy again. You're going to wear the clothes in the back of your closet that you've been saving forever. You're going to be able to run around with your kids. And you're going to be able to stop thinking about food all day long. And that kind of change doesn't need to be dramatic. It just needs to be real. So if the scale is moving slow, I need you to zoom out and I need you to look at the full big picture, because you are doing it. You are winning. You are exactly where you need to be. And if you're looking for a space where you can talk about all of this without any judgment, with a room full of amazing, beautiful women, I need you to get into Her Glow Era. It is my completely free community for women on a GLP-1 journey. Check the description. It's there. Get in there. Either way, I just need you to keep going, because you've got this. If you've made it through this entire video, I need you to comment your number in the comments. Let me know. You did the math. You have your number. Comment it in the comments so that we can cheer you on. We can find other people who maybe have the same number as us, and then maybe we can compare a little bit, right? But we still don't want to compare to other people. And if this is the first time you've seen my face and you've made it this far, then you should absolutely hit that subscribe button. Join this community. I would love to have you here, and I will go ahead and link my weekly weigh-in here so that you can see exactly how much weight I lost this week. And then if you want to learn just a little bit more about my entire journey, I will link that here, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.